Hi everybody, I'm Andrew. Today I'm going to talk to you about my experience baking a vinyl record in the oven. And well, first let me explain why I would do this. That record that you saw in the beginning of my video that was extremely warped is this album by Bob Dylan. It's called Nashville Skyline. It's a very good record that I highly recommend. But my copy, as you saw, was extremely warped to the extent that it was not playable. The tone arm on the record player would just skip all or jump all over the place, and I could not enjoy that record for years. And so what were the alternatives? I could just throw it in the trash and buy a new one. You could buy probably a pretty decent copy of that album for less than $20. Not horribly expensive, but you could also buy a reissue, and I have mixed feelings about reissues. I could also try to flatten the record by a pretty safe way, which is you put it on a flat surface and put something flat on top of it, like a sheet of glass, and then you put some heavy things like bricks or cinder blocks or a paver on top of it, a concrete block, and leave it there for weeks or months even, and hope that the weight and the time that you're putting it on there will flatten the record. And I tried that in the heat of the Texas summer, and heat is very important too. I tried to do this and it did not work. It did not flatten the record enough, even after a couple of months in my hot garage with some concrete pavers on top. The record was still very warped. So the last resort, besides throwing it away, is baking the record in the oven. And I just from Googling, I found that this might work. Now I found a couple of articles on this, and they all seem to say use very low heat in your oven. 175 degrees was the recommendation. And I found a couple of different things about the time. One actually said 30 minutes, which seems very long to me. The other one said 3 minutes, which seems very short. So to be safe, I tried this first at 3 minutes. 175 degrees for 3 minutes. And I was very skeptical that this would work because I figured my record's going to be ruined. I mean, if the temperature is hot enough that it's going to flatten the record, it's probably also hot enough that it's going to melt the grooves. So maybe the record will play, maybe it'll be okay, but it's still likely to not sound the same. There has to be some damage, right? But I figure I have nothing to lose. So I bought some sheet glass. I found these at Home Depot. They're 16 inches by 20 inches. I tried to get something that was closer to the size of my record, like maybe 14 or 15 inch by 15 inch. And this is the only one that I found that was bigger than the record, but small enough to fit in my oven, and it barely fits in the oven. But it's not a bad size, actually. And these cost $10 each. I could have bought a new record or a good used copy for that same amount probably, but this is a fun experiment. So what happened? I tried the 175 degrees for 3 minutes. She for me that her hair is hanging down, it curls and flows all down her breast. She for me that her hair hanging down. That's the way I remember her best. Took it out of the oven, and I put it, left the glass sandwich with the record in the middle on my countertop, and I put a towel on top of it. And then I put a heavy concrete paver, and then to cap it all off, I put a Beatles anthology, a heavy book on top of that. And I let it cool down for several minutes, probably at least 10 minutes, I would say. After it cooled down, I was disappointed to find that the record was still pretty warped. It wasn't much better than originally. So I did it again. I put it in at the oven for 175, but this time 10 minutes. And the same process, but just 3 times longer. You can see that maybe I should have cleaned the glass in my oven here. And this time, it seemed like it worked very well. It is playing, now you can still see it's a little bit warped, but it's definitely playable. And it sounds really good. I really can't tell that it's been damaged at all. Now, however, if this is a valuable record that you have that's warped, I don't recommend this. I would say you could pay somebody to flatten it. Maybe there's if you check your local record store, some of them have the service where they will flatten your record for you, and they might charge you $10. And you could also buy a machine. I guess that was one of the alternatives that I didn't consider, because these machines that flatten the records are expensive. I think they can be at least hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. Now, my story is not all happy. Because I had such great success with Nashville Skyline, I then tried to flatten a John Lennon album, John Lennon and Yoko Ono's Double Fantasy, which not a great album, but there's some good stuff on it. Actually, Yoko's stuff is kind of growing on me, but I had severe edge warp on this disc, and I tried the same method, but I started with 10 minutes at 175 degrees, and it improved the edge warp a lot, but it was still had some problems. So I put it in again for a second treatment of 10 minutes, and this time the record is ruined. It's melted. It does not play. I mean, you can hear some of the tunes. I mean, it's basically it was already ruined. I was going to throw this away anyway. I'll probably keep the jacket. I like this picture. It's a very sweet picture of John and Yoko. I might hang this in my garage. But I saw this record this weekend, another copy at my local record store, Doc's, and it was selling in very good condition for $10, and I didn't buy it. I might pick one up someday. I like it. It's not a top priority for me. So this is the warning is, although this method of baking your record can work, it can also completely ruin the record. So you have been warned. But Nashville Skyline is a keeper. That's one that you want. And so I would say that my experiment was a success. I learned a lot. I learned by doing. If you're traveling to the north. Anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed my little contribution to the vinyl loving community. So have a great day. Thanks.